I had to make sure I wasn't dreaming when he said what he said. So, but I'm
here, of course, joined with Nick Bodkins of the Bodkins Show. Nick. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Tanner with the Sports Buffoons back at it here. Of course, co-hosted next to me is Nick Bodkins of the Bodkins Show. And, you know, luckily he's here after yesterday's show. Like, man, that's crazy. The way you had to exit yesterday's show. And
yeah, I don't know if you caught it, but you could tell I was really going through it. I
didn't see the whole thing, but I saw enough where I could see you were like, something's happening here.
Yeah. I mean, when I take the hat off and I'm just like, I'm literally dripping in sweat. I was going through it. I mean, I threw up right before we went on air. Gosh. I was like, hey, I should be all right, Craig. Went and did that. Threw up right before we went on air. We were talking. And like, just more and more, I just felt like I couldn't breathe. Like I couldn't talk or anything. You know me, I'm high energy all the time. And like, that just like, I had none. I couldn't bring any energy. And I just wanted it to be over with. And I was like, I told Craig, hey, Craig, you gotta talk about some fantasy stuff. And then I couldn't come back on. I just didn't stop throwing up. But back tonight, feel good. 100% better than I did last night. So, always here with you, Tanner, and we're ready to rock and roll as our big football season is about to stick off. I mean, we're like 3 days away. I mean, it feels like it's
literally
Sunday,
3 days away.
We are 3 days away from opening day. So I'm excited.
I'm super excited here. You know, week one's just around the corner, like you were saying, and I am ecstatic for it. We got fantasy to talk about. We got fantasy football. We're going to give you guys 3 guys to must start, 3 guys to be wary of for week one. Then we're going to hit up some NFL matchups in week one. Ones we might like, ones we don't like. And then we'll finish it off with some MLB talk with Jonathan. Playoff baseball is right around the corner. We're in the last month. So, everybody's down to the wire. Every game counts right now for a lot of teams. So there's a lot to talk about there. But yeah, I mean, packed week already in content, right? So we start our pregame shows with Let's Talk Sports starting Thursday pregame before the Bills and Rams. I'll be back with them postgame with Jeremy and Carlos. And then Sunday morning, I'll be here as well, helping host the Sunday morning pregame show for the slate. Ryan and Dan will then take over, I believe, I think it's midway. I don't know if it's quite before the Sunday night game, but it's around that time frame. And then, of course, the post-game show on Sunday, I want to say is Rob. I have to look at the list again. But there's a post-game on Sunday night following the Sunday night football game. And then Monday starts over pre and post. So super great lineups coming to play. Lots of different people from the Let's Talk Sports community to join. So we all start that this Thursday on Let's Talk Sports. So make sure you guys tune in there. So, and of course, Nick, you got your content. I got my content. We're going to be busy. I got the new Chiefs channel. So we're doing a couple shows there. We're going to get those out. Maybe get Redbird Red Zone on for the Chiefs channel preview for the Chiefs Arizona. So there's lots of things to come here as we ramp up for week one of the NFL season.
Yeah, I mean, as you're getting ready to watch week one, and even if you missed anything, we're going to cover it right here at Let's Talk Sports for sure. Between everybody, pre and post game, I'm going to be on the 11 o'clock, I think, with you on the pre-show, talking all the games. So on the Sunday morning, so you'll find us both there. You're on there like 3 times. I mean, you're going to be a busy guy on football. I like to at least watch the games and not just talk about them. So I'll be excited to, chime in when you're on them post shows.
Don't worry. I got 3 monitors here. So no matter what time or frame, if there's football going on, I'll be watching it on my computer here somewhere. Or if not, my big TV I see in the corner. I got the Rangers Astros going on right now on my big TV. So I'll be watching it. I ain't worried about missing games. So cool. Well, guys, we'll get this thing kicked off here. We'll bring in Ryan Larrison, Fantasy Football for the People .com. Wagmi Fantasy, and also Rotoballer on top of Let's Talk Sports stuff. So, Ryan, welcome in once again. We appreciate you joining us. I know you're busy around this time frame. I know the fantasy drafts are ramping down. I got one more Wednesday, this Wednesday, kind of a late league add-on kind of deal. But one more Wednesday, and then I think I'm officially done because I don't think you don't really want to draft after Thursday. It's no fun after that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. I actually just I'm finishing up my final best ball that I'm doing, a slow draft. It's a deep best ball, so they went 25 rounds instead of the normal 18. So we're winding down, and people are trying to figure out who to take off of, like, practice squads at this point. I just got
Pretty much
Laquan Treadwell because he went to the Patriots practice squad because that was about the only guy left that was probably worth his salt of anything potentially this year. So I'm having a great time. Nick, I'm glad you're feeling better, man. Hopefully
Thanks,
we don't
man.
have to dip out in the middle of the show. I've got a player on here that you're not going to be very happy about me putting on the
it's probably, I'm guessing, to stay away from or to
stay away from.
Man. Oh, I'm excited for that. So
I need to know because I just drafted the whole Packers running back in my big money league draft. So
it's not one of the running backs.
All right. Well, I mean, that's the only two people that matter unless it's Aaron Rodgers. So I mean,
I love it. Hey, good news is for the Packers, the first time, first good news in, I don't know, maybe all season. David Baccarati or whatever, that he's actually practicing. He's expected to start week 1. So that's huge.
Well, the Packers are right on schedule. We're getting Bakhtiari back. Alan Lazard is out with an undisclosed injury, just like I said he would be. He's going to miss the first 4 games. So we're right on schedule, right where we need to be, you guys. I told you, Lazard's going to miss 4 games. Cobb will miss 4 games. Watkins will miss 8 games. They're never going to all play together. It won't matter. So here we are. We're right on schedule, exactly where I thought we would be going into week 1.
Oh, man, I love it. All right, so let's talk some fantasy football here. Ryan, what's 3 guys that we must start this week for a week?
All right, I'll do them one at a time. I'll let you guys rebut me just in case, because I got to keep myself in check too here, right? Or else I'm just going to sound like a know-it-all. I'm going to. I mean,
you already do, so no, I'm just kidding.
I don't try, but I know I am. So, so we're going to start with a guy that I've been touting all off season. Chase Edmonds gets to play New England this week. Guys, Sony Michel got cut. So we don't have to worry too much about the goal line usage being siphoned away from Chase Edmonds. Yes, Mostert is going to be there. There's a good chance that he'll get a few goal line touches. But when you're looking at both of those players, both of them, there's a good chance that Edmonds is going to find his way near the goal line on a few series, maybe, find his way into a rushing touchdown. But he's not even going to need it because he gets to play New England, a defense that has not really gotten better this offseason, and they already gave up nearly 1,000 receiving yards to the running back position last season. That was top 5. Compared to every other defense. And this is a pass-catching back that you want. So I got Chase Edmonds ranked inside my top 24 this week. So far, the expert consensus has him outside that top 24. I think he's someone that you absolutely need to fire up. And then the best cherry on top, there's a report that came out this week from head coach Mike McDaniel in Miami, said he wants his running back core to tally 30-plus touches a game. That's his ideal situation. Ladies and gentlemen, at least 18 of those are probably going to go to Chase Edmonds. And that's exactly what you want from a guy that you drafted in the 8th to 10th round. So fire him up with confidence.
I was going to say, are we worried that even Gaskins might get in this little bit of 30 carries that would affect Edmonds at all?
No. Core special teamer, Myles Gaskins. You forgot to put that little initial right up in front of him. I mean, he is not of the caliber of player that Chase Edmonds is. I mean, we follow all the signs of the offseason. They paid this guy day 1 of free agency. They paid him over $10 million a year. He's going to get what he needs in terms of touches to succeed for fantasy purposes. I've been saying it all year. People call me stupid about it, but we're going to see on Sunday that he's going to work out really well.
Well, the only big worry I have here is Bill Belichick is just able to take your best asset away and, make you do your worst asset. So if you're saying the Dolphins are going to try to run 30 times a game, Bill Belichick is definitely that coach who will make sure that doesn't happen. So are you worried that, they're going to scheme to stop the run and make Tua make those throws and make him put the ball into his hands? Because very easily that's what we've seen Bill do. I'm going to take away your best, greatest asset and I'm going to make it, it's just not going to be there.
Well, that's the beauty of a couple of things. Tyreek Hill joining the roster, he's going to have to game plan for Tyreek. No matter what he does, I don't care if he wants to stack the box and stop the run. He's not going to be able to do that and make sure that Tyreek has the coverage that he needs on top of him. And even if they do decide to really box in and stop the run, Edmonds is the pass catcher, and that's where it's going to matter for fantasy. A reception is worth so many more points on average than a carry for a running back, and that's exactly what Edmonds is going to get. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends the day with, upwards of 6 targets. That's exactly what you want from your pass-catching running back, and this is the type of game where Tua might be under a lot of pressure, and checkdowns are his favorite thing to do already as is, and Edmonds is going to become one of his new favorite checkdown targets. So I love him for this week.
Now, I like that pick because I also believe that Belichick's going to focus on the wideouts because you got Waddle, Cedric Wilson, and Tyreek Hill to worry about. Not worrying about Chase Edmonds is a big thing. So he, by the way, Edmonds, he was ranked 4th in NFL receptions among running backs with 4 catches and 5 targets per game last year. So that's perfect for Tua because he's going to need an escape route when Tyreek Hill is double covered and Jalen Waddle's being covered with double covered as well. So, I mean, why not go Edmonds? Go the short game.
No J.C. Jackson either. He can't sit there and play play on top of a slot receiver anymore at cornerback, and he can't sit there and take out the pass catching running back either like he did last year. So it's just not going to happen. There's just too many good things going Edmonds' way for him to fail on like a massive scale, if you will.
I like it. I like Chase Edmonds the first pick. What's our second one to must start?
We're going to move to wide receiver, and a guy that I actually haven't really talked about too much so far this offseason, but he's got a great matchup. Brandon Ayuk. He's sitting outside that top 36 right now by the expert consensus as more of a, take the shot as your flex if you really have to, but you can bench him in most situations. Chicago's defense is putrid. It's gotten worse over this past season, and last year they gave up 23 touchdowns to the wide receiver position. That was the second most in the entire league, only one behind actually the first place team. And then on top of that, Debo's going to play, but he's also dealing with a bone bruise that he has behind his knee. He returned to practice today. He was only doing individual drills. He's going to play. There is a chance that he's limited in some capacity. And if that's the case, you've already seen the reports out of camp that Ayuk might be the favorite target of Lance because they're trying to use Debo, obviously not only as a receiver, but out of the backfield as well. When Trey Lance wants to go deep, he's going to go to Ayuk, I think. So it just everything is mashing up for this week to where he's going to kind of put fantasy leagues on notice as I'm a guy that you can flex, especially in good matchups like this almost every single week, no matter what it is. So I think he's going to have a good week this week.
All right, Ryan, I'm holding to that because I just drafted Brandon Ayuk in my big money league with Trey Lance. So I'm gonna hold you to that stack here. So when you're coming back on next Monday, if Ayuk doesn't give me at least 15 points, you're gonna hear about it, boss.
Hey, I'll take all the brunt of it if I have to. But no, that's a great stack because most of the time you see people trying to pair the quote unquote top receiver. But when you can get a quarterback late like Lance and then pair him with one of his weapons that might be getting 80 to 100 targets in a year, it's almost as valuable as taking that guy who cost you a second round pick instead. So I love that.
Yeah, that's solid there. I mean, I guess Brandon Ayuk probably has more chemistry with Trey Lance, I believe, than that's what I've been hearing in camp than more Debo. Debo sat out for a little bit as well, trying to get his money essentially going to play and, dealing with, he was kind of banged up as well in training camp. So I like Brandon Ayuk. I really think he takes that Debo role over because Debo complained about after the season, the whole shebang of him want to be traded because he doesn't want to play in that role. Well, you don't have to play in that role, but somebody's going to. Brandon Ayuk's the guy.
And Ayuk has chops as a runner too. They've used him on those end around screens and stuff like that. There's a good chance that he could end up with like 15 to 20 carries by the end of the season if Debo really wants to stay out of the backfield too. So that whole situation is interesting. And I feel like a lot of people, unless it's Debo, people have basically stayed off the offense of San Francisco as like high draft capital players because there's so much tumult and mystery surrounding it. And I think Ayuk's going to go out this week and kind of prove that he's a fantasy asset that you can use on a weekly basis, especially in really good matchups like the one he's got this weekend. Right.
And the whole 49ers offense is a perfect game to see how they actually progress. Because I took Trey Lance as well, took a shot at him. He dropped down to I think round 10 for me. And I was like, I'll bite. I'll get him. So I went after him as well, and I got Mitchell as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how this 49ers offense goes without their offensive coordinator. That's now in Miami. So it'll be interesting to see. I like Ayuk. I like the fact that you have him as a starter. I mean, against the Bears D as well, like We all know that's not any good. So.
Yeah, my biggest fear with Ayuk here is just that the 49ers are going to get up so big, and then they're just going to run the ball right down the Bears' throats.
I mean, I'm okay with that too.
They get up, they get up 14-0, 20, 21-3. That's just going to be coast mode, and so that kind of worries me about Ayuk. It's like hopefully one of those 21 points go to Ayuk for 2 touchdowns. I'll be happy.
Yeah, and that's the big thing when you're looking at guys like this, because you're trying to play matchups too, when you're trying to give some confidence to these players that don't rank like in that top 15 or top 24. And that's always the risk, right? They're playing these really bad defenses, and there's a chance that they just boat race the team, and it takes the wide receiver out of the equation, if you will. Obviously, that's definitely a problem, but I don't think it's enough to hold back me throwing him in a flex. I don't have a lot of Ayuk shares this year, unfortunately, because he just gets drafted around a place where I'm usually trying to take one of those running backs where they were later around. That was my issue. This was always where I got Edmonds, is where he was getting drafted in like the 8th round or so. So it's like I don't have a lot of shares of Ayuk unless he fell one more round later, and I'm a little upset about that to start the season because I did not know how good San Francisco's opening schedule in general was for the offense.
See, I can't believe, like last year, I wouldn't touch any of those 49ers, any of them. This year, I'm like, oh, I like Brandon, I like Mitchell, I like Lance, even, like complete 360 from last year. So even Brandon, I wanted 0 of him. Like could drop all the way down to 18th round, and I still wouldn't touch him. So I think it's come a long way. So I think pretty solid pick there versus the Bears. So all right, who's our third guy to must start?
So we're going to the tight end position, and I did this specifically because there's so many, almost every single league, the top 10 tight ends are always the ones that are drafted. They're the ones that are auto starts and lineups. But once you get to a 12-man league, there are tight ends that even sit on waivers during that first week that you can eventually stream and even use in week 1 if you're just not confident in the one that you were able to grab if you're a guy like me who goes late round. So I'm going with Albert Aguabanam from the Broncos. I am not a big Aguabanam guy. I have not been one of his biggest supporters over this offseason. But ever since Tim Patrick went out with the ACL, that potential to become the number 3 read for Russell Wilson is there. Now we have to see it happen first. So you're kind of betting on more of a hope and a prayer at this point. But he's got the perfect matchup because Seattle did not improve defensively this offseason, allowed the 8th most points to the fantasy tight end per game last year, and they allowed the 4th most touchdowns to tight ends last year. So now he's got the chance to increase his usage with the loss of Tim Patrick. KJ Hamler is back. There's no report that says he's 100% healthy. I'm still looking for that report. I'm the wide receiver injury report Rotoballer right now, and I still can't find that report anywhere. So I don't even know if he's going to be, used at the level that he's going to be used in terms of snap share as the season goes on. So Aguabanam could really get off to a hot start here. If you're looking for a tight end because you took one so late that you want to stream and have a little bit of confidence in, I think he's got the perfect matchup to do it this week. Plus, this is Russell Wilson going against Seattle week 1. If you don't think he's going to throw 4 to 5 touchdowns just to spite Pete Carroll, I mean, you're not playing the narrative game right for fantasy purposes. And one of those could go to Aguabanam.
Especially on Monday Night Football. But Nick, I know what you're going to say. And I want you to say it loud. I want you to say it loud.
He don't throw to the tight ends. He don't throw to I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, and Russell Wilson's never thrown to a tight end. He had Jimmy Graham never threw to him. I mean, they just researched all those tight ends. We talked about it on Saturday's show in the AFC West preview. That's not something Russ does. So I wouldn't. To me, I wouldn't. I'm a wait and see. Hey, I know it's week 1. Guess what? In fantasy, you can take a 1 loss in a week. And if you're telling me that tight end is the guy that's going to give me there, I'll wait and just see what happens. He scores 3 touchdowns this week 1. I'll be dead wrong, and I'll probably put him on waiver claim next week.
So it wasn't like the best tight end Russell Wilson. That was like a Logan Wilson or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah, it was like somebody who went to another team and you never heard from him ever again. But that wasn't even that great of a year.
Yeah, and this is the thing, too, because like I said at the top, I've never been a Aguabanam supporter this offseason. I'm not his biggest fan for that reason specifically. We just haven't seen it. But you also got to factor in the fact that Pete Carroll's been his head coach and the one who runs that offensive scheme, and he just doesn't utilize the tight end position when it comes to the passing game. He wants big dudes that can block. That's all he wants. And Aguabanam was probably, I would say, next to Gerald Everett, the most athletic tight end that he has had at the position other than prime Jimmy Graham. And we all know that Jimmy Graham was just that. I think that's the perfect thing to point to. Jimmy Graham should have worked in that offense, it didn't work because they just wanted to use him block. He used an athletic vertical threat that they used as a pass and a run blocker most of the time. So this is me saying, hey, listen, I don't like this guy, but I think we might have a good week 1. So I'm even giving you the confidence if you have him to start him, and I don't like him. So I think that's more what I'm saying than like he's going to be a top 3 tight end this week. I'm not going that far, but I think he's definitely usable for this week, and he's got a good first month of the season for a tight end schedule too. So if he pops off week 1, he might be someone you can trust as a week 2, week 3 asset, depending.
Okay, so that might be fair, right? So the K coach did come from the Packers OC, right? Robert Tonyan, Jimmy Graham, all kind of. If you got guys, Rodgers at least throwing to the tight end, right?
Yeah,
Rodgers
yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no.
Hey, that could come into play.
You look at the end. You look at through the years, Aaron Rodgers. It's like they had Jared Cook for a couple of years, didn't really amount to much. They had Jimmy Graham too, didn't amount to much. I mean, Jimmy always try to catch. I always called him one hand Jimmy Graham because he always went up with one hand every time the ball was thrown to him. So it's the tight ends don't mean like a whole lot in that offense. I mean, George Kittle's the only exception because they all come from that Kyle Shanahan key. Tree is the only exception, and he's just a freak, and they have to throw him the ball. We'll see though. So I wouldn't say that Tonyan had one good year, and it was like he had like 4 good games really. If you broke it down that year, and you broke it down to his 4 good games versus nobody of the other games, it really wasn't that great.
I mean, look at it this way: here you're throwing the ball to for the Denver offense, right? You got Sutton and Judy. After that.
You got KJ Hamler still there.
Hamler, if he's healthy, and then if not, you're doing Melvin Gordon. So over
Javonte Wood,
most likely for a passing game. So Albert has to be in the works. So outside of that, you don't really have anybody else on that wide receiving core. So I guess Albert does have a better chance to showcase his talent, I guess, with Denver than he did with Seattle, and especially with the new coach. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see. We're gonna have to follow back up on this Albert one next week. So
yeah, this is the one I'm most interested to look back on. I'm either way off or I'm spot on.
I'm talking myself into it right now, and like I'm like, oh, wait a minute now.
I just feel like he was probably a tight end that wasn't getting drafted unless you just had like this crazy draft. So like if you drafted your tight end, why not just stick with whoever you drafted week 1? That's just my theory. I took this guy on draft day. I'm going to ride him out until, at least 2. I give guys at least 2 to 3 weeks. And then by week 3, I'm like, all right, well, clearly things aren't working out here with the way we thought. It's time to smell you later.
Right. All right. So our 3 must starts are Chase Edmonds versus the Patriots. Who's the guy right before
Brandon Ayuk versus
Thank
Chicago.
You, Brandon. Ayuk. I don't know why I forget about Ayuk. I think of Goofy and Ayuk. So Ayuk against Chicago. And now we have Alberto against the Seattle Seahawks in the revenge game.
Revenge game. Not for him, but for Wilson.
There's a lot of revenge games week 1. I mean, we'll get into that with our next segment, but a lot of revenge games.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then hang tight there. I can't tell who commented, just as user. Oh, Marcos. Hang tight, man. We'll get to your comment here after the 3 to be wary of. So, all right. 3 guys to be wary of week 1. Ryan, who we got first?
All right, I'll start with the one that'll make Bodkins a little sad, but there's a caveat. I got Aaron Rodgers here as a sit only if Allen Lazard actually misses this week. The injury just popped up today, right? Because it says
undisclosed.
Yeah, undisclosed. He was off running to the side during individual drills, but if this was an official injury report, they said he would have been DNP and did not practice. So that's worrisome. If he's not out there, they've already got Christian Watson, whose status is up in the air as well, and he's already missed tons of time during the preseason. That leaves Aaron Rodgers with Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins, Romeo Doubs, and then the running backs. And I want no part of that being his first game without Devontae Adams for fantasy. And it stinks, too, because the matchup with Minnesota is pretty solid. Minnesota gave up top 5 points to the quarterback position last season, and their defense didn't really change much. They actually went more offensive this offseason, so the defense may struggle a little bit more than we saw last year. So the matchup looks really good on paper. But if he's missing Lazard, I'm out. There's other quarterbacks out there like Kirk Cousins that's on tons of waivers, and I would – oh my gosh, I got to look at the list, but there are guys on there that I know I would throw in above Rodgers. Rodgers will probably fall outside of my top 15 for just week 1 if Lazard is out against Minnesota.
We'll plan on that. So, I mean, that doesn't really hurt me that too much because like I told you, I got Jones and Dillon as my in my fantasy that I just drafted.
You got both?
Both, yeah.
What rounds?
So I took Jones in the second. I was at 12 at the turn, so I took him, I guess, at 13th overall pick. I took Aaron Jones, and then I can't remember when I picked Dillon, somewhere in there. I didn't. It's not like I reached for him, but I took both for him just to have the cuff. I'll start both. And because I feel comfortable starting both almost every week.
It's one of the few backfields in the NFL where you could literally start both backs and have 2 top 24 producers. It's like Cleveland. If you got Nick Chubb and then you wound up with Kareem Hunt in the 8th round, you could flex Hunt every single week that you play Chubb because there's a chance that he's going to find his way into a top 24 week as well. So it's not the worst strategy in the world.
Yeah. All right. Back to the Rodgers thing for me as well. Does last year's Saints game affect your decision at all?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, we got to bring up bad stuff. I don't bring up 13 seconds of the Bills, the Bengals game to you, Tanner, and you're over here bringing up
13 seconds against the Bills. Calm down. The Bengals had to take more than 13 seconds to beat us. We beat ourselves. But like the whole. Like,
I don't bring up bad things about your team, and you just want to bring up hey, week 1 of the Saints when Aaron Rodgers threw 4 interceptions, and it's the only 4 interceptions he threw all game. You guys remember that?
Calm down. We're not talking Cubs here, all right? So this is a better team they're facing than the Saints last year is what worries me. This is the whole point I bring it up. Is this Minnesota team is not like past Minnesota teams. They actually went out and got people, signed people, and actual depth for their roster. And I'm worried about Aaron Rodgers coming out like he's struggling. Like, yes, it's week 1. Obviously, we could care less about week 1. I think overall it's an NFL fan base, but it's just there because we love it. But like Rodgers struggles against week 1 against the Saints after sitting out all preseason. Right, he's sat out all preseason again. He could struggle.
This time he was in the building
with Minnesota.
He was in the building.
That's fine. He wasn't restricted this time, but it was the whole fact that now they're facing an even better team week 1 than they faced last year. Because that Saints was pretty average last year, I would say, until about midweek, about mid-season, and then Winston went down. So, but like I'm just trying to see if that brought into your case at all from last year.
It didn't factor in, but I had a feeling it was going to get brought up anyways, because as soon as I put him on the list and I'm reviewing it and reading the notes back just to make sure I got everything in there, I'm like, man, this is just like last year with the Saints.
Hopefully a better outcome.
And I think it will be. The big thing is I think Minnesota's offense is going to be the problem for Green Bay, right? If they boat race Green Bay in any way because Green Bay just can't get their offense off the ground, Rodgers could turn this into a game where, for fantasy purposes, he makes all of his fantasy points damage in the 4th quarter as he comes back in garbage time in a game that's basically unwinnable. So there's that option as well.
Don't say that either.
I can't be all in, because if Lazard is in, I'm fine with playing Rodgers. I actually love Lazard if Lazard plays because this matchup is great. But if he's not in, count me out. I want absolutely no. I'd probably play Jared Goff over Rodgers against Philadelphia.
All right.
That's probably drastic, but it's like this.
It's a guy to be wary of. It's a fair take right there.
No, it is a fair assessment. I'm not. Obviously, it's like I said. If I was probably like, if it's not the 2 running backs, I'm staying away pretty much all of Green Bay anyway. I've kind of stated that when it comes to fantasy. Give me the running backs. I don't want anything else. I mean, you take Rodgers late in the round when you drafted him. That's perfectly fine. You want to sit him this week? Hey, you got to.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Who's the second guy to be wary of for week 1?
I'll do a little self-damage here since I just trashed Nick's team. Miles Sanders against Detroit. On paper, this matchup looks perfectly fine. Sanders has been dealing with a hamstring injury since the first week of preseason. He hasn't played a practice. He hasn't done a snap in practice since that injury happened. And he only took 7 snaps in that game and still wound up with a hamstring injury. Like, I'm not super confident that he is going to have a full workload in this first game. There is a good chance he plays. There's all reports out of Philadelphia have said that there's almost a 0% chance that he misses the game. Problem is you've got Boston Scott, who had a good preseason, who's going to work his way into the offense. Kenneth Gainwell is going to take away a good majority of the passing downs work. And then they just added Trey Sermon, where if he's active, you look at all these backs, Trey Sermon may be the best option as your goal line back if he, is someone who actually has impressed Nick Sirianni with the last few practices that he's been able to participate in since he got claimed off of waivers. I want to see Sanders produce as a fantasy asset first. We all know how good he can be when he's healthy. I mean, his career average yards per carry is over 5. There's few players in the NFL that have that. So we know how talented he is. He's just got to get on the field at 100%. And week 1, Detroit, in a game where we might, I don't want to say this because I'll jinx it, but we might boat race them potentially. I don't want Miles Sanders because there's a good chance that if he's dealing with any sort of injury heading into the first week, he's not going to get anywhere near a full workload.
You're not boat racing anybody in Detroit, baby, because they're biting kneecaps over there. How can you run if you ain't got no kneecaps?
Listen, I'm a closet Lions fan. I've said this for years. I've always rooted for Detroit. Everyone knows it. My family buys me Detroit stuff randomly just because I root for them almost as much as I root for Philadelphia, just silently. But I don't know if I got a lot of confidence in Philadelphia, especially that defense. I don't know how they're going to fare against that defense week 1. So it's going to be interesting. Just I'm hands off of Miles Sanders this week. There are other options that you can play over him since he fell so far in fantasy drafts.
Yeah, I'm hearing Smoking Germany B yelling or something. I don't know. It's somewhere in Michigan there. So. But yeah, Miles Sanders, I feel like he's a guy I wouldn't really put in my starting lineup until maybe past week 4 or 5 just to see what's happened. Like, that's a guy that's going to be sitting on a bench somewhere. He should be, as long as you have players available, right? Like, to be able to play over him. Like, he's almost dead last in my book right now until he does get a workload, just because of the fact that he did sit out since that first week of training camp. Was like that's a big worrisome. And I heard there were like potential with Kareem Hunt coming into play, and that would kick Sanders right out of anything. So I don't know, man. I think Sanders is a great example to be wary of, and maybe be wary of for a few weeks.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It's just a situation I want to be hands off of. I mean, Philadelphia has never been afraid to mix in different running backs. I mean, we had Jordan Howard on the roster last year, taking 12 carries in a game, and he was sitting on practice squad, not even our own practice squad. So it's got a lot of 49ers smell to it. You know what I mean? A lot of Kyle Shanahan shenanigans going on, and I just don't want any part of it until I know exactly what I can expect.
Fair enough. All right, here's our final guy to be wary of for week 1.
Yeah, this one's interesting because I didn't think I would have to talk about this player until probably like October, but I'm cautioning everyone who's very hyped up that Chris Godwin has a good chance to play week 1 against Dallas to just leave him on your bench for a week, because we don't know what his on the field production is going to be, and not only that, we don't know how much snap share he's going to get. There's a very good chance that if he plays week 1 against Dallas, he's playing 30, maybe 40% of the snaps. And I understand he's got Brady. All it takes is 2 catches, and he could have 50 yards and a touchdown and make you happy for fantasy purposes as a flex option. But you don't want to take that risk against, a Dallas team that this game went bonkers last year when it opened the season last year for fantasy purposes, but we don't know if that's going to happen again. There's a lot of tumult going on around Tampa Bay. Offensive line issues, probably some of the worst I've seen in a long time in terms of injuries, just back to back to back. A guy who is going to have to contend with Mike Evans, Russell Gage, Julio Jones, Kyle Rudolph at tight end, Leonard Fournette taking targets, who's not 100%, playing out of the slot, and there's a good chance that he's not only not 100%, but not going to have a high snap count. Let him sit for a week, see how much usage he gets, and then there's a good chance that as week 2, week 3, and week 4 come along, he's closer to 100% and getting that 90% snap share that you're used to.
Yeah, I would say the whole news of Russell Gage coming back to practice and expecting to play kind of puts the whole Chris Godwin thing to rest, honestly, this week. Because Gage is pretty much in contention with that same Godwin role right now. So I'd say if Gage is healthy coming to play, Godwin, I just don't see Godwin playing first week. I wouldn't imagine they would try to start him, but you never know with that Bucs team.
What's his name down in Jacksonville coming off towards Achilles week 16 is playing week 1.
James Robinson.
Don't even remind me what ridiculous nonsense that is. Dude. It's ridiculous. He's either going to hurt himself for his entire career, or he's going to look just washed.
Awful.
And we all know that James Robinson isn't a bad player. He's just not going to look good coming off of an Achilles like that. I think they play Washington week 1 too. That's a decent defensive line. They're going to eat him alive. And then ETN's going to look like the guy, and they're going to regret everything that they chose. So we'll see how that works. That is not biased that I love Travis Etienne. That is just me straight up. No, that situation drives me bonkers.
It's like Cam Akers, right? Came back for the playoffs and Super Bowl. Did not look like Cam Akers of old by any means. It scares me. I didn't want to draft him at all this season, even though we did for our sports Buffoon group, but I didn't choose that one. So like that, it's the same situation with James Robinson.
You chose James Robinson though, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did. It was like what, the 11th round? Like, let's get some depth, dude. You never know. Like, he might blow up. He might be a free agency guy.
See, that's where I'm swooping up Ramondre Stevenson and stuff like that. Top 20 running back by the end of the season.
I'm
busted James Robinson's.
Yeah, I can't believe that one. No, that's fair.
I'm high on him as well. The guy I took your advice, Ryan, is Algier from Atlanta. I took him in I think I took him in about the 13th, maybe the somewhere like the 12th, maybe, or somewhere right around there. I was able to scoop him up.
Him and Pacheco are two of my favorite guys to draft towards the end, and we'll just let them sit for a month and see what their usage becomes. And then after like 3-4 weeks, if they're not getting touches, you can safely drop them. But if they actually get the touches that, we're kind of expecting them to get by the time the season starts rolling on, they're going to be, flex options or potential top 24, depending on if they can find the end zone. And you're grabbing that in the 13th round. You can't pass that stuff up, man. They're the two perfect targets to look at. Just don't play in week 1.
I wasn't going to. Yeah, no. I got them on the bench to see. So it's the wait and see guys. Some of my guys, like I took Nico Collins, my very last pick. It's just a wait and see guys is what I like to put them. I'm gonna put them out there. There's no buys. You ain't got to worry about anything. It's just wait and see until the time rolls.
Yeah, my late one was Zamir White. I got him. Zamir White. I think 15th or 16th round, and I was like, click, let's go. And that's before Kenyon Drake got released. So
that's funny. Better. He's usually drafted, and then I'm looking at waivers to pick up some guys before the season starts for these drafts that I've done like a month and a half ago. And I'm picking up Amir Abdullah too, because I'm like, listen, if there's an injury to Josh Jacobs, I don't think Zamir White's getting much of a target share. So whatever Josh Jacobs is going to get is going to go over to Abdullah, and Abdullah's already going to have a passing downs role already. If you're in any sort of PPR format, that's a guy that I think you can target within those first few weeks off of waivers, and he may do something and be a flex option depending on how much they throw the ball there in Las Vegas, which, spoiler alert, it's a lot.
Yes.
I mean, they were a lot last year.
Speaking of Abdullah, I took him in like the 13th round. I think my last two picks were Amir Abdullah and
that's my last.
Nico Collins. Yeah, my last two picks at the turn.
Yeah, 21st pick or 21st round. That was Amir Abdullah.
Yeah, it worked for best ball. Oh my God, I've got him on almost every best ball team. He's probably my most rostered player in best ball because you can just get him so late nobody thinks about him. And then in sleeper, the ADP doesn't want to register everything correctly. So when you go past like 18 rounds, you're looking at guys that like haven't played for 6 years on this. So I get to scroll all the way down and find Abdullah, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know he was there. I forgot about it."
Gotcha. So 3 guys to be wary of: Aaron Rodgers going into play. Wow, I'm always missing the second one.
Okay. Miles Sanders at Detroit.
Miles Sanders. Yeah, see, Miles Sanders isn't even in my mind. That's how bad it is. Miles Sanders there. And then finally, who was the third guy?
Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin. See, those are like 2 guys I didn't think I'd be talking about in week 1 at all.
Yeah,
so,
these are names that people I see them in starting lineups right now in some of the leagues I'm in, and I'm like, you guys are making mistakes. Like, there's just
they better edit that.
I understand Godwin. Like, I know the name is there and it's Dallas, so you've got the chance, but not this week. Not until I
just don't see it. I don't see how he starts coming into play.
The same with Gallup. Gallup is going to be back probably within the next couple of weeks, and it's another guy that tore his ACL super late in the season there, where it's like, I don't understand how this stuff is working out this way. Like, the James Robinson one is going to prove everybody wrong, in my opinion, but there's tons of other injuries when I'm going through and looking that just baffle me.
Man. All right, so got a couple comments for you. So Marcos Valdez commented on Facebook here. He says half point PPR: Waddle, Michael Thomas, Gabe Davis, or Allen Robinson. He's also week 1 streaming defense or Denver versus Seattle, Tennessee versus Giants, or Cleveland versus Carolina.
For the defense, give me Denver versus Seattle. If you got the chance to pick up Denver off of waivers, that's the best one for me. And it's a Monday night game too. So if you go up and you're up by even half a point, just take your defense out of the starting lineup and secure your victory. That's the best way to do it when you have a DST. So go ahead and go with Denver versus Seattle. In terms of this is a great, quattro of wide receivers here.
It really is.
I mean, if you need the upside, I'll put it this way. If you need the upside, go Gabe Davis, because you need that, that potential 90 yards and 2 touchdowns on 3 catches. That's what you're looking for when you're playing this flex spot. Go Gabe Davis. If you just want to be safe, I have Allen Robinson ranked the highest out of all these 4 for this week. Trey White is not going to play in Buffalo this week, which means they're going to be down to their 3rd, maybe even 4th corner for that number 2 spot. And that's who's going to be covering Allen Robinson, because the other guy's going straight to Cooper Kupp. So if that's the case, Allen Robinson is probably going to have some soft coverage. I think he's the one who may I'm not going to say he's going to have a better game than Cooper Kupp, but there's a good chance that he finds his way into the end zone once they get down close. So Allen Robinson is my highest rated. But if you need that huge upside, Gabe Davis is the guy to go for out of those 4. Still love Waddle and Thomas, but these guys are all 4 probably back to back in my rankings. I got to look at it because I'm getting them ready for week 1. But that's a great lineup right there. That's a good problem to have.
It is. I'd agree with that.
No.
See, I would have probably gone Waddle in that situation, just for the fact that. Well, that's true. I think
I kind of like Davis, like what Ryan said, with just the upside. But I mean, to me, the safe bet is Robinson. I just like what he can bring.
Yeah, that's true.
And it works with the matchups this week.
It really does. So, and a lot to tell with that Miami offense, anyways. See exactly how Tua's going to look even week 1. So, with all the weapons he has now, so cool.
It's going to be deer in the headlights,
right? So,
exactly.
any new articles dropping here? I know Johnny and you got some. You already dropped a couple here off this last couple days. So, anything new coming into play for you?
Yeah, so tomorrow, if you guys are signed up for the newsletter tomorrow morning, I've got an article in there about early season quarterback and tight end streamer possibilities. So I got 4 quarterbacks and 4 tight ends in there that have really good opening schedules to the season, that if you're just not confident in those positions, these are guys that you can target. Spoiler alert, Aguabanon made that list. He was one of the reasons that he made this list, is I just saw how good of a matchup he had. So that's coming out on Wagmi tomorrow. If you guys are subscribed to the newsletter, you'll get that in the morning. And then if you're not, you can go to the website on Wednesday and it'll be up. After that, Rotoballer, goodness gracious. I've got so much going on over there. Rotoballer, you guys are going to see right now I have the wide receiver injury update article out. That's getting updated every day as injury reports come out. There's over 15 guys on that list. I did not notice how many receivers have an injury designation. And these are all names for fantasy that people are paying attention to. I think the least relevant is Robbie Anderson, and that's still a guy that's getting drafted in most leagues. So you can go and check that out. It'll be updated every day. And then the newest version of that will come out on Saturday morning, right before game start on Sunday. So you can check that out over there. If you have any Philadelphia Eagles or Green Bay Packers on your fantasy teams and you have the Rotoballer app, any of the pregame updates, the matchup outlooks are going to be done by me. And then the postgame stuff, whatever they did, I break that down afterwards after the games are done for all fantasy relevant players for Philadelphia and Green Bay. And then I'm leaving my weekly rankings on my site over at Fantasy Football for the People. Those will be out by Thursday. I actually have them all done. I just got to get the rest of the work done in the website to get them all posted out there. So, and those are updated an hour before game time on Sunday, and obviously an hour before game time on Thursday as well. So if you don't know where to go, just follow me on Twitter or on Facebook. Twitter is at FTB. Facebook is Fantasy Football for the People. And I post all that stuff where exactly all those articles are every time that I release them.
Yep, and yeah, I can find that fancy all those actually sites in the description below. I got them all posted, so they're on every video I'm on. Like, I make sure they're in the description because I use them all. So
I know I feel like I need to be paying you for all the promotion.
We'll set up a deal later. Awesome. Well, Ryan, we're gonna let you go. Appreciate you joining in, talking fantasy with us. We hope to have you on, of course, throughout the season as much as you're able to, obviously. So always appreciate it. And yeah, man, we'll definitely catch up with you again.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, see you, Ryan.
Take it
see
easy.
You, Ryan.
I got you week 1, Nick. Just remember that.
All right. Hey, we'll see. Oh yeah. Hey,
can't wait for next week.
I forgot. Week 1, we're playing each other in that league. Hey, We'll see what happens. I'm about to take down the king of fantasy himself, week 1.
We'll see which one doesn't show up next Monday.
Yeah. Hey. We'll see.
Take it easy, gentlemen.
See you, Ryan.
See you.
All right, Ryan Larrison, guys, with Fantasy Football for the People, Wagmi Fantasy, and Rotoballer. So, of course, let's talk sports as well. So, always great. We're trying to bring you fantasy content every week. We have a different couple guys as well. Mikey with Basement Brood Fantasy Football. He came on a couple weeks ago. Great guy. You know, he gave me the Abdullah pick, right?
That's who I. That's yeah, and that's who I took. Like I said, I credited him when I was taking him. Because Mikey pointed him out to snag him up late in drafts.
Yeah, so we got a couple of guys just in case if one can't hop on. So good stuff there. All right, let's switch it up here. Let's talk a little baseball before we talk NFL again, right? There's a lot going on to play. Let's bring on Jonathan Grishman. Jonathan, welcome back to the show. We always appreciate it.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
What's up?
I'm good, man. How are you? Like, I know it's no practice today because of the holiday, but like, how's the day off? Is it weird or what?
I relish these days when I finally get a day off from the day. I got to hit the golf course a little bit ago with my dad, so that was nice to kind of unwind a little bit. So very rarely do I get a day off during the season. If I get one, I'm going to enjoy it as much as possible.
Did you swing the golf club left-handed? I mean, did you get taught to swing the golf club left-handed? I mean,
no,
you went from pitching left-handed, so the golf swing just go with it, right?
No, straight right-handed on that. Straight right. You're right-handed with the bat, right-handed with the club.
That's great. That's great. Well, man, a lot's happened in 2 weeks. I feel some divisions got a lot closer than when we talked last. Some wild cards switched up in play as well. You know what? Let me share my screen up and we can bring it all on file.
Yeah, the team I want to talk about, we got to talk about it right away, is the Yankees. I mean, this was a beginning of August, a division that's over, and Tanner just pulled it up. There are only 5 games here. Tampa Bay and even Toronto, they're making it a series. I mean, they're making it – they can win that division now, where I would have put all the fortune in the world that said, at the beginning of August, there's no way. But now here they are. I mean, are the Yankees just falling apart here? What's going on there in New York?
Man, I'll tell you this. I remember during the summer we were talking. There was a potential Subway Series for the World Series. Yankees and Mets. They were double-digit leads in the division, and both teams are kind of falling off a cliff right now. And the Yankees are absolutely are in a free fall right now. It's surprising because they did have a 15-game lead, but at the same time, you almost had to wonder when it was going to happen. They were on such a pace at the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season. At that point, that wasn't sustainable. Was the talent in the rotation going to be sustainable? Was the offense of what they were doing? I mean, Aaron Judge is still on his great pace, but the rest of the offense was doing things that nobody expected them to do. And now you're kind of seeing where they really are. And I actually feel like this is the real Yankees of what we expected them to be, at least in my eyes. I didn't think they were going to be the best team in American League, best team in baseball, like they were beginning part of the season. I think we're kind of seeing what they really are right now. They're a flawed team, flawed roster. They just caught fire very well at the beginning of the season. They were playing, at a tremendous pace. And now you're kind of seeing where the roster does tailor off a little bit. So if I'm in the Bronx, I'm worried. I'm very worried. I mean, you see the Rays playing really well. They, took 2 or 3. I think it was them that they played in Tampa. They took 2 or 3 this past weekend. Blue Jays are playing good ball right now as well. There's a chance that one of those teams could catch them in that division for sure.
Yeah, I think the Yankees are getting a break right now, at least for a couple of games, because the Yankees are facing the Twins while the rest of the division beat up on themselves. Rays got the Bo Sox today, and then the Jays and Orioles are playing. So luckily there's some beating up there. But, yeah, like you got 7-3, 7-3, both for the Rays and Jays, who just got done, I believe, playing each other.
Rays,
was it Rays, Orioles?
Rays beat the Red Sox 4-3, or Blue Jays beat the Orioles 8-4. So the Yankees won against the Twins, so they didn't lose ground, but they didn't gain ground either.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's a big part of it.
The Yankees kind of finish up. I mean, the Red Sox could play spoiler for them. I mean, because they finish up with the Red Sox, and then they have a 3-game set with the Yankees, and they have a weird 1 game with the Orioles there at the end of the season. So I mean, they kind of still obviously control their own destiny, but they can barely be caught, especially if the Blue Jays there at that 3-game set, they're only 2 games back. they sweep the Yankees, they probably win that division.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is just it's historic. We're kind of seeing an historic possibility of the Yankees absolutely collapsing, and at that point, you almost have to wonder what's going to be the future for some of the guys in the front office. You can't lose a 15 games lead, and even if they win, I think like this: if they win the division, but they only win by 2 games, I think you have to have some questions as far as what's going on with this roster, maybe the decision-making process. Obviously, I think they have to make a run in the postseason to at least get to the ALCS potentially World Series to prevent changes moving forward. I mean, this is something that you've never seen, a 15-game lead like this absolutely disappear, and you're now in danger of being a wild card team or missing the postseason altogether.
They already had troubles with Aaron Boone. I thought he was going to get. Didn't they talk about before the season he was going to get fired, and they brought him back? So
that was last year during the off season, and now we're talking. Now they're going to be talking about it again if something happens early in the playoffs.
Oh, if they don't get out of the first round of the playoffs and they collapse, he's done.
Yes. Yeah, I agree on that. And I think at the same time, Cashman's job is on the line too at that point. I mean, you cannot have this collapse for anybody. So if let's just say again, if they win the division by 2 games, but they lose in the first round, you're looking for changes throughout the front office at that point. And again, I mean, Cashman has been a mainstay in that front office for a couple of decades, but at this point of the time where they're at, you have to look some changes in this game. This roster is not a great roster. They just play. They played it outstanding beginning the part of the season, and they're now kind of coming back down to earth.
Yeah, definitely. That's very true. It really has come back down to earth. On that
crashing, not even coming down. They crashed back down to earth.
Hey, they had a couple bombs today, right? They look good on offense, so I think if they can get the offense back going. But yeah, I mean, do you believe in this Joey Gallo curse ever since the trade deadline? Do you believe in that for the Yankees?
No, I think that's just there's just a lot of talk. Again, Gallo's doing what he's been doing when he was with the Rangers. He's doing what he's doing with the Dodgers. I mean, it's just the pressure in New York. That's it. I mean, that's a real aspect of playing in that city, no matter what sport it is, whether it's MLB, NBA, or NFL. That city is just so different with how you handle the pressure of the media and how you handle the pressure of the fans. Gallo he wasn't a fit for that. I think a lot of people that I knew when that trade happened, they knew that was not going to be a good fit for him, and there's too much for him to. They thought that because there's a short porch in right field, the power that he can provide, go hit 40 home runs, and he'll be loved in the Bronx. But it's just such a different feeling in that city that he just didn't work. It didn't fit. He didn't fit the culture of New York, and that's what it is. So I don't buy into the curse of the Gallo. That's what we want to kind of go forward, with. But I think it was a bad fit for both sides, for the Yankees and for Gallo himself.
Gotcha.
He had to grow the beard back in L.A., and that's why he's been hitting. You get a good beard going, you can start hitting.
A good beard does bring some good hits in, yes.
Yeah.
That's very true there. So it looks like probably one of the 2 hottest teams in the division for at least the AL is the Astros and Mariners. They're just running through people. Astros just got another win versus the Rangers. The Mariners have been beaten up on, I think, where they beat up on the Guardians a little bit, and also can't remember who else it was, but yeah, these 2 teams, obviously, I believe Seattle leads the wild card right now. If I'm right.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so they're in the wild card block.
Seattle is them and the Tampa Bay, a half game up on Toronto, and I guess Jonathan, I just found out. I guess there's 3 wild card teams this year, not 2, correct?
3.
Yes,
Three.
we're the first year of the 3 wild card teams in postseason play now. Yes.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. So Orioles were actually only a game and a half when we talked last. They've obviously dropped down because they've had kind of a rough streak going into play. The Twins are still 6.5 games out. They were actually within a couple of games as well since we talked last. Do you see either of these 2 teams potentially catching up this month before the end of the season to make that push to push maybe Toronto out? Or are we kind of seeing what we're seeing for wildcard teams?
Yeah, I think the three teams listed, I think the Rays, Mariners, and Blue Jays, I think that's going to be the wild card going this season. I don't see Baltimore. I think they're just a year too early, maybe a year or 2 years early. I think Baltimore's kind of what Seattle was last year and what Seattle was supposed to be this year, and they were able to make that jump a year early. I think Baltimore is a little bit too early right now to make a playoff push. And again, tip your hat to what they've been able to accomplish this season. I don't think anybody really thought Baltimore was going to be in a postseason push, and let alone being 4.5 games out of a wild card spot. So, kudos to what they're doing in Baltimore. But I think they're just a year too early, at least, to continue to compete for postseason play. Minnesota, I don't think they're going to catch any of the wild card teams. I think their best chances they have to win the division against Cleveland right now. That again, they're just kind of a weak. I think the division itself in the Central is just too weak to kind of keep up with the Rays and Blue Jays in the East, as well as the Mariners, who are just absolutely scorching hot right now. Again, I think on a great pace. They lost tonight. I think they're on a 7-game winning streak at one point. So they're playing really good ball, but I just don't see Minnesota having the firepower really to kind of keep pace with the three teams that are leading the wild card. And the same thing with Baltimore. I think Baltimore's just too young, too early right now in their development. I think they need another year before they start competing for that postseason push.
Who's winning that American League Central? Because the White Sox have Tony La Russa went back to the nursing home, and their interim manager's in, and they're back. They're only a game and a half out. So, what's going on there? The White Sox finally going to turn this thing around. You look at their records here. Neither one of these teams are great. They're barely above 500. In fact, the White Sox are below 5 or 1 game over 500. So, who's winning that AL Central here this last month?
It almost seems like nobody wants to win that division. You had opportunities. Like Cleveland had opportunities to pull away. They fell back. Minnesota's had opportunities. Chicago's just is a talented team. They just not had it been able to put it together. It almost seems like nobody really wants to win the division right now. But I have to lean towards Cleveland. I think Cleveland is going to be able to pull it out. I think they have a little bit more. They have a little bit more offense than what the consistency side of Minnesota, which you expect with guys like Carlos Correa leading that offense. You have Gary Sanchez, who has moments of being a really good offensive production player. They have those pieces, but they just never been able to be consistent what you're expecting from them. Cleveland has the arms. They have the pitching to be able to compete with the Twins, who is one of the better pitching staffs in baseball in the American League. But the offensive side, I think they have to lean a little bit more towards Cleveland right now as far as just the little – and again, I use the word consistency very, very loosely in that division right now. But again, so I'm picking a team that – from what I'm seeing, they're 2-8 of the last 10. I'm going to pick the Cleveland Guardians to eventually find a way to win that division.
Here's the deal real quick. Looking at schedules real quick for each of these guys. So the Twins have the Yankees, right, for I think the next 3 games. After that, it's division all the way down. It's division stuff, except for the Angels series where they get a 3-game series in the middle of it. And they finish it off with the White Sox. The Guardians have the Rays, Rangers. Rangers can be a team if they're, working well, and the Angels. Outside of that, it's division. They finish off with 6 games against the Royals, and the White Sox going to play have the Mariners, of course, right now. Right now they're Mariners. They got the A's, the Rockies. Then they play division with the Guardians and Tigers. And they finish out with the Padres and the Twins. So I'd almost say I feel like the Twins should have the better schedule going into play on this. But at the same time, Twins aren't I don't think they do very well lately within the division. That's kind of when their struggle bus has been into play. So I almost say the White Sox have a chance to come away here because they have I feel like an easier schedule going into the last 25 days.
Yeah, but you just can't. What I've watched the White Sox, you can't trust them. You can't trust what they're doing.
No, you can't. That's the issue.
The two talent. There's so much talent on that team. It's just mind blowing what they have not accomplished. This season.
They're going to have them Cy Young winner. Dylan Cease is probably going to win the Cy Young.
And they're going to miss the postseason. That's
so
mind blowing to see. There's so much talent. They have underachieved to the definition. I mean, that is absolutely mind blowing what that team has really not done this year, and they should have ran away with this division. I thought they were going to be, the division winner by many games, and they have not even came close to being to reach their potential. And it's really sad to see. And again, it goes against LaRusso's history, his what he's been able to accomplish in the past, and it kind of falls on him now. And he's the blame. I do think that LaRusso is the blame of what this team has underachieved this year. And hopefully they can figure it out as they go in a different direction in 2023.
Yeah. Hey, DeAndre, I saw your comment. Send it in. We'll get to it here a little later. So, but yeah, I agree with you. It's so disappointing. Like the White Sox should have it this year, and I just feel like they're gonna choke it up somewhere. So, let's talk a little NL here.
Yeah, the best team is the Dodgers. They got 92 wins. We just kind of saw there. I mean, the record's like 108, right? So what's the most wins in a season the Mariners set? Is it like 108? Is that possible? Is that possible for the Dodgers to break?
Is it 108? I thought it was a little bit more than that.
I'll look it up real quick. Yeah.
Is it 112 maybe? Either way, they're real. I mean, if it's 112, they're not going to, because that's 20 games. I don't know if they're going to 20 games.
I got 116 by the Cubs.
Yeah, I thought it was
okay.
And they lost the 1906 World Series.
How did you
not know that? How'd you not know that as a Cubs fan? Are you a real Cubs fan?
The Mariners have the most winning games. The Mariners won the most games in a season in 1999.
Hang on.
That's what I'm asking here.
Regular season.
Yeah.
I was about to say,
I thought it was the Mariners. I thought it was 116 is what the Mariners had.
This keeps running back to the Cubs as they managed to win 116 in 152 games.
That's winning percentage, but I think I know the Mariners have the most wins in regular season.
2001 Mariners. 116.
There it is, 116. So yeah.
So 116. So the Dodgers probably not going to be able to catch that. I mean, at this point,
they won't get to that point. Obviously they'll get 100 wins. I think they'll probably finish close to about 106 and everything, but. I mean, what they're doing is just, again, I'm talking about historic pace of what the Yankees collapsed down. This is kind of a historic second half of what the Dodgers have been able to do, and they are. I mean, and as much as I'm being a Braves fan and I hate the Dodgers over the last few years and what we've had to face them in the postseason, this is probably one of the better teams they've been able to have over the last 5 or 6 years in the records they've been able to accomplish. In that span, this is probably the better of the Dodgers teams that's out there right now, and that's kind of scary to think.
What makes them so good?
I do too, DeAndre. I do too. Against the Dodgers.
What makes the Dodgers so good? Like Dave Roberts has been around and keeps turning out these great teams. Like we talked about the Yankees taking this nosedive, but the Dodgers continue to just, year after year after year.
This year, at least, is the offensive production. And we've seen in the last few years the pitching staff and what they've been able to accomplish with Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Urias, now Tony Gonsolin. But those guys have been hurt right now. Those guys, Gonsolin's on the IL. Kershaw just came back from the IL. Buehler's out with Tommy John. And they're still winning. They're still being able to keep the pace of what they're doing, despite the pitching staff has not been what the names that we've known for the last 4 or 5 years. And that's incredible to see. They're putting a lot of runs. They're leading baseball with the run differential at 294. They're absolutely just on a torrid pace offense. But you have so many names. But the consistency side of the names, where you have Mookie Betts, who's a consistent hitter, Freddie Freeman, a consistent hitter. And again, I hate saying that about but that is what he's been his entire career, as a consistent hitter who can hit for base hits and hit hard for power. But you go down the entire lineup, and that's what it is. They've been able to do that. Trace Thompson has been an unknown name on that lineup, and he's been hitting the ball really well and consistently for them. So they're able to find guys and plug in the lineup and really put things together. And that's been in the consistency side of it. So the pitching staff has not been what they've been with guys like Buehler, Kershaw, Scherzer the last couple of years. Gonsolin, you don't have those guys right now, but you're still able to outscore these teams and put up 6, 7, 8 runs a game in the stretch, and that's where you're able to be dangerous at that point. If you can outscore teams, all your pitching staff has to do is just keep you in the game. if they're able to keep you in the game and your offense is putting up runs like it's nothing, you're hard to beat at that point.
Your differential's 294, 422 runs allowed this season to teams you have to face in the NL, such as the Padres, the Cardinals, the Mets, the Braves. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to seem like I don't feel like they actually have a weakness going into play.
At the moment, no. But again, with the pitching staff they have, and again, no Buehler, Kershaw is up and down. No Gonsolin at the moment right now. Again, I don't know how long Gonsolin's going to be, but so your pitching staff in postseason play may not be what we were used to. So those guys that you're plugging in, you still have Urias, who has postseason experience. You have Kershaw, who has postseason experience. Gonsolin. So you have those three guys, but who's that fourth? Who's that fifth guy that you're going to put in a bullpen type game in game 4 of a series? So how's that part going to be? How are those guys going to react when they get into the game where the games absolutely 100% matter? That's going to be the question mark, at least for right now. Again, the health of the pitching staff moving forward will be a determination factor for how that team succeeds.
All right, so we can skip on the West here. Sounds like I feel like the Dodgers have a pretty lock on it there with 19 and a half games up on the Padres.
Yeah.
The Central, 7.5. A lot's happened there. More drops for the Brewers. Brewers just haven't played well. But let's go to the East here. I think that's the most interesting division out of this as well, is the Mets and the Braves. And you mentioned it. The Mets haven't been the same in the last month coming into play, but the Braves seem to be continuing to roll and starting to get hot at the right time like they did last year. What's the thoughts here in this division?
Man, yeah, I'm gonna try to give my unbiased opinion.
Unbiased,
but I say you gotta go with what the Braves are doing. I mean, they are absolutely the pitching staff. The starting pitching has been phenomenal. Bullpen at times it has been shaky. Kenley Jansen has had moments of blowing a save recently. Last few saves he's had, so that's a question mark, at least in my eyes, as far as is Jensen going to be the guy when the ninth inning, when the game's on the line in postseason play. I mean, at the moment, I'll say yes, but I have a question on how long that's going to be if he continues to have his struggles right now. But overall, in the bullpen, the Braves have been really strong in the bullpen. They've been really strong in the starting rotation with a Max Fried, with a Spencer Strider. Charlie Morton's pitched really well. I mean, they've been consistent. And again, that's the name of the game is consistency. Where you have to start fearful a little bit with the Mets is, again, Scherzer went down. I think he got taken out of the fifth inning because of fatigue, he said. Almost something similar to what we heard last year when he was with the Dodgers. He had some arm fatigue. So how much does that play a factor in Scherzer going into the postseason play? DeGrom has his injury history that at this point in the season it could creep up. I don't want to see that. I want to see the best pitchers, again, even if they're against my team. I want to see the best pitchers in baseball go at it and have them in postseason play and say the best of the best play. Let's see how they work. So I'm hoping those guys can stay healthy in this postseason run. But the consistency side with how the Mets have been kind of going up and down a little bit versus what the Braves have been able to accomplish. And the Braves are getting healthy. I got Ozzie Albies, a rehab assignment right now. He's only about a week away from getting back to Atlanta. That's another bat that's going to bring into there. And then you have to move some guys around, shuffle. So the depth of the Braves is going to be a huge factor in this race moving forward.
Looking at the schedules going forward, the Mets probably have an easier schedule. Braves they have the A's coming up, but then they have the Mariners. Then they have a tough series against the Giants aren't, a cakewalk. Then they have a huge series with the Phillies. Finish kind of up with the Nationals, and then back with the Phillies. Another, that Phillies series those two Phillies series will determine a lot for both teams. And you look at I was looking at the Mets. They have the Marlins and then they got the Cubs, Pirates, Brewers, the A's, and then the Marlins again. So the schedule favors the Mets going, in this month, because when you're playing the likes of the Cubs and the Pirates and even the A's, those pretty much easy wins right there. Should be at least easy series wins.
It should. The favorable schedule does fall on the Mets. As far as the win percentage, but we just saw the Mets lose 2 of 3 to the Nationals, and so that again, this game, it's anything can happen on a ball field right now. So it's up to the Mets. The Mets control the destiny moving forward. They have the lead still. All they got to do is just keep winning. So if they do that, no matter what the Braves do, Mets win the division. the consistency side has to come. It has to come back. They have to figure it out. They have to put it together. And right now, I think they're feeling a little bit of pressure. I think, again, so those guys have, besides a Scherzer, those guys haven't had a lot of postseason run experience. They had the collapse last year at this point of the season and allowed the Braves to jump them and move into the division title. So they have that history of collapse. That does, and as a player, that does weigh in your mind a little bit. That does, and it's saying, hey, we have to prevent this. And when you try to have that mindset of trying to prevent a collapse, you start playing with fear. And when you play with fear, you start making mistakes. When you make mistakes, you start losing ball games. And the Mets are right now that have those moments where they're losing some ball games. So the pressure starts building and building and building. And again, talking about New York, the pressure in New York really does play a factor. So that's something that they're going to have to really fight to prevent the Braves from jumping them right now. And I don't see it. I think the Braves are the hot team.
Mm-hmm.
They have the best record since June 1st to today. They have the best record in baseball. They have been the most consistent team in this stretch. I think this division is going to be the Braves taking here pretty soon.
All right, as we wrap up here, some baseball talk here. Who's your two teams to get the final two wild card spots? Obviously, the Braves or Mets will get one spot. Now you got two other spots. The Phillies and Padres are tied right now, or pretty much even, and then the Brewers are 2 down. Which of those three teams get the final two wild card spots?
I don't trust the Brewers. I don't trust the Brewers and what they've been able to do since the trade deadline. I feel like they have absolutely tanked themselves out of this postseason race, and so it's the Phillies and Padres, and both teams have. Padres with what they've been able to do from the trade deadline, they have underwhelmed. It's very confusing, at least from what they did. They bought, again, we talked about this at the deadline when they made these moves. They made 100% buy-in to the 2022 season. Bringing in Soto, bringing in Josh Bell, bringing in Brandon Drury. You bring in these guys. You have the pitching staff that you have, and you're not making a move that you were thinking you were going to make to at least make it a closer division race with the Dodgers. But you're supposed to make these moves and jump to the first part of the wild card. At least that was the conversation that was going to be had. Like, oh, this is the Padres are going to catch the Braves or the Mets or whoever was going to be the number one spot, and they were going to basically be that dangerous team in the postseason. They haven't done it, and so it's kind of confusing on what's going on with the Padres. So, but I think they'll be that third wild card spot, or at least the Phillies and Padres will be 2 and 3 in the wild card, with the NL East runner up between the Braves and Mets being the first wild card team.
Awesome. Well, Jonathan, we appreciate you coming on talking baseball. We're gearing up towards the playoffs, so we got even more to talk about as we get closer. It's the most important month essentially is happening right now as teams start getting kicked out, such as our team's been kicked
out since. Yeah, I was gonna say our team's been kicked out since
we're still
May.
good, right? We're still good.
Yeah.
We got a chance.
We've been kicked out since May.
Oh man, our Royals and Cubs will find life someday again. I don't know when.
Hey,
so.
2024 for y'all, right? Is that?
I think that's what they said. I heard 2022 already, but obviously this year in it, we gotta get rid of Cal Eldred, and then we can maybe talk about 24. So until Dayton and Cal's gone, maybe not. So we'll see what happens. Well, Jonathan, thanks again, man. Appreciate you joining.
Absolutely, guys. We always enjoy.
Nice to see you, Jonathan.
Appreciate it.
We'll catch you next week.
Sounds good.
Thanks. All right, Jonathan Grishman of Alpha Performance, baseball and softball. He just got baseball going, I believe. They had a pretty good weekend last weekend, so lots of stuff going on there. It's exciting to see and read. So, all right, guys, let's bring our final segment of the day for NFL here. Johnny, you can find him at the Yankee Fin. You can find him on Let's Talk Sports. Johnny, thanks for waiting, dude, and hopping on. Greatly appreciate it.
No problem, man. I'm happy to be here, guys. How y'all guys
What's
doing
up, Johnny? How you doing, brother?
What up, Nick? What's going on, bud?
Oh, man, ready for football season, my friend.
Oh, man.
Absolutely, man. This is the best time of year between, the baseball winding down, coming down the stretch, and then the first opening week of football. This is my favorite time of year. Absolutely.
How nervous are you about your Yankees? I just want to ask you because, we were talking about it with Jonathan. You're rocking an Incredibles hat, not a Yankees hat. So is that just you're done with them for now?
This was a little something for Tanner. I don't have a Kansas City hat, so I wanted to
I love it.
A little red out for his Chiefs. Plus,
Mr. Incredible, Patrick Mahomes, right?
It's also a metaphor for what I think the season's going to be. I think it's going to be a great season. So it was just was a little something there. But
I like it.
no, I mean, I'm not happy about how it's been going with the Yankees. But again, like I've told people, if you told Yankee fans in the first week of September we'd be up 5 games going into the down the stretch, everybody would take it. So just the way they got there is what's worrisome, because they went off to such a hot start and then now they've completely just sunk down. But we have had some injuries. We got some guys come back. Hopefully Rizzo comes back soon enough, and the pitching staff has kind of straightened this stuff out. I don't think it was a Joey Gallo curse, but I honestly believe the last second Jordan Montgomery trade to St. Louis.
He's been killing it for the Cardinals.
I mean, he was a good pitcher for us. He wasn't like dominant or nothing, but he was a good young pitcher. But he came up in the system with a lot of those young players. So they had, they were close and they all knew each other. So I think that might have, I think that could have affected the chemistry a little bit in that, in that clubhouse. Plus you add a few injuries with that, and then, but we still up 5 games, and, we got, 3 more games with the Rays, and we got 3 more up in Toronto. So as long as we handle our business, we'll win the division and stay out of that pesky wild card stuff. And once you get into the playoffs, you never know what's going to happen. And that's all Yankee fans care about is the playoffs.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We'll see what happens there, because we could win 20 of the next 27. And then if we lose in the playoffs, Yankee fans ain't going to care anyway. Or we can limp into the playoffs, but if we get to the World Series, that's what the Yankee fans are going to care about. So I'm realistically optimistic, though, that that we're going to hold on to this lead, and then we'll see what happens when playoff time comes.
Gotcha. Real quick before we start our NFL segment, help me rate a fantasy team 1 through 10. This is a full PPR 12 team league by DeAndre. He was wondering, so I figured we open it up this way here. So he has Jackson, Debo, Judy, Fournette, Akers, Kmet, Elliott, Lizard, and then the Lockett, Patterson, Rashad White, Khalil Herbert, Russell Gage, Cheryl Henderson Jr. So he wants a rating 1 through 10 and a 12-man full PPR.
10 being the best? Is like
10 being the best. 10 being the best. So I'm going to give this, personally on my side, I'm probably going to give this a 6.
I was leaning that towards. Jackson, of course, is going to give you, and Debo.
Judy, I think Judy, Debo, and Jackson are going to be the highest scores on this team.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Akers may have a good, may have some good points there. I'm not a big fan of Elliott. I don't. Dallas is going to struggle this year. I just have.
I wouldn't trust Lazard really, like we talked about earlier with Ryan. Lockett is the same situation. When Geno Smith's throwing you the football, huge question marks there.
You don't know.
Right. Yeah. Russell Gage, I like the Russell Gage. He cuffed Darrell Henderson with Akers, which you have to, because you don't know what you're going to get out of Akers. Like we talked earlier with Ryan, Akers coming off the injury and hasn't looked great.
Rashad White, Khalil Herbert, cuffs as well. Like he doesn't have Montgomery, but still great to have Herbert there. Montgomery's been known to get banged up time to time. And
Patterson
Herbert will be used a lot more.
Yeah, Patterson's. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him.
Like I said, 6 sounds like a good.
I would say like 5.5, 6 somewhere around there.
I'd say the team will be competitive,
right?
But it's not looking in that direction to go that way. Towards the championship, but I'd say
that doesn't mean you have to stress it out right now, DeAndre. You know what I'm saying? Because anything can happen over there, right? Or anything can happen.
Find out
waiver claims and stuff, so you'll be surprised, right? Don't jump off the ledge now, because we don't feel that way,
right? And then, so this is a guy that actually watched me a bunch during when I was doing my drafts at night. So Hunter, what's up, dude? Good seeing you. Hop on again.
Man? What's up?
All right. So let's talk NFL Week 1, Johnny.
Let's talk about it.
Lots of great matchups coming into play. Right, Thursday we kick off with a wonderful matchup. But I want to know what a couple of matchups do you have that are pretty high to a must-watch in the play for the NFL Week 1?
I think if I had to pick a couple of must-watch games, I'm gonna go because like you said, there's hella storylines all over the league. I think my first one is in your division. I'm going to say Raiders and Chargers is a must-watch game. And then the other one is honestly your Chiefs and the Cardinals. Like I'm anticipating a good game there. I'm not the biggest on the Cardinals, but I want to see, I want to see the Chiefs offense without Tyreek Hill. Not that I'm doubting anything that Patrick Mahomes can do, but I just want to see
Mr. Incredible, right?
I just want to see how different it's going to look. But I think it's going to be an interesting matchup there. The Packers-Vikings game should also be a very good one. But if I had to nail down two, I would say, Raiders, Chargers, and then your Chiefs and Cardinals would be the main two that I would be looking at.
I like that because you're at least the Raiders, Chargers, especially. You're going to see exactly what kind of defense this Chargers defense went out and spent for, right? Going into play.
The storyline's there for both teams. Remember, this is the last game of the season last year, the regular season. Both teams, they could have tied and both went into the playoffs. Right. Instead, the Raiders win in just what was a wild game. I don't mind that. I just think that's a good storyline. The Chiefs, Cardinals. I mean, Cardinals had a lot of offseason drama as well. I mean, the Kyler Murray situation was like he was not there, coming in, coming out. Now he's back. They make the big trade for Hollywood Brown. You alluded to Tyreek Hill leaving to Miami. So there's both those teams got some question marks. The Cardinals have so much to prove between their coach and Kyler as far as, hey, this is the year, because every year it seems like they start off real hot and then they die down about week 8. That's when Kyler seems to play, not play as well. So it'll be interesting week there with the Chiefs and the Cardinals. It's -4.5 for any gambling folks on the Chiefs.
Chiefs to cover.
I would take that.
I'm not the biggest gambling person, but week 1 is always the hardest.
Yeah, it really is.
Because you're so going off of last year that you don't know what teams are really going to be about, and then they've had all off season and training camp to prepare for this one team. So the first week can go either way sometimes in my book. So I don't gamble much, but I definitely don't. Even on the pick'ems where we used to do at work, I just avoid week 1. I'll wait to see what happens in week 1.
Let it go and see what after that.
I'm saving my $5 that week, and then I'll wait till week 2 and start picking some teams week 2. But the storylines, like you said, are just all the movement. Is Matt Ryan the key for Indianapolis? You know what I'm saying? Can Marcus Mariota resurrect his career in Atlanta? You know what I'm saying? Baker Mayfield, is he going to take it out on? Is he going to, F him up against the Browns like he was saying? Which Carolina can be a sneaky good team with that young defense.
You look at
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you kind of mentioned it there. There's a lot of revenge games you're talking here. You mentioned Baker, then there's Seattle and Denver. Already week 1, like some massive storylines just kind of going into week 1 here. And then you even looking at even the games that aren't like real, like huge, like storylines that pop out to you. But look at this Jaguars Commanders game. Like, like Carson Wentz, can he turn it around? Is it Jacksonville now? Is Trevor Lawrence year 2? Like, how much are they going to be improved with Doug Peterson instead of Urban Meyer? Like, there's a lot of good storylines week 1.
Absolutely. That was the next one I was going to mention was Carson Wentz. And then, of course, going into the Dolphin Patriot thing, how is the offense going to look? I know everybody's paying attention to Tua, but my thing is more, how Tyreek and Waddle and company look together on the field, because we haven't seen that yet. On the field. You know what I'm saying? We got a little taste of Tyreek Hill in the last preseason game, but Waddle is kind of nursing a hamstring or something, so they've been taking it, actually an ankle, so they've been taking it easy with him. But he should be ready for week 1. So I'm just excited to see how they all look together on the field. So it should be a lot of fun. A lot of, like I said, I think it's going to be an incredible season. It's going to be so much fun, man.
And then you in that same game, you flip it on the other side, New England, right? Like they don't have any of their coordinators. Nobody even knows who. You talk to somebody every day in that building, somebody different. Everybody else is somebody's calling games. Mac Jones is supposed to be, in shape and ready to go. Like, so that they got their own storylines as well. It's almost every team, if you dip into it a little bit, it's like, man, like they got a storyline coming into this game as well. So it's like week one's always interesting because, like you said, you just don't know. You don't know. We had this whole offseason where this was probably one of the most wildest off seasons in football history. And here we go, ready to go. And it's just like, man, I don't know who to pick, and I don't know how it's going to go. There's not especially this week one where I'm like, I'm gonna circle them. That's my go-to team. You know.
Yeah, I might let wifey just make the picks for this week and just, for real. But no, yeah, there's the storylines and the matchups. It should be a lot of fun. With the Patriots, it's not. I mean, I've been saying it from jump. The McDaniels that's a big loss, and the two coordinator thing. Miami tried it last year and it was just a disaster. And I trust Belichick obviously more than I would Flo. But I think the main thing is who's going to be calling the plays. You know
exactly.
What I mean? I think that's the most important thing. So, I mean, you can have guys with experience in coaching and that may know a little bit about the offense, but to actually call plays.
Yeah, Matt Patricia was reported to be calling offensive plays, who was a defensive coordinator. And if he's calling plays, well, we saw how that looked in Detroit. Ask how that went.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
The Dolphins.
To be totally honest, as far as like rosters, I don't see New England. Like I would not be surprised. I mean, you can never doubt Bill Belichick, but I'm expecting a bit of a beatdown. To be totally honest,
here's my hot take for the Patriots this year. Mac Jones gets benched. Like he's bad. Like he gets bad. I think this year.
I'm not the biggest Mac Jones fan, and like I said, he did exactly what they needed him to do, was manage the game last year. But when they needed him to make a play, he couldn't. Yeah,
now he's lost a coordinator that can do that kind of stuff of make him look like he's a starter.
Well, who's their backup?
Is it still what's his face? Oh my lord! Hey, I'll look it up.
Why are you looking at it?
Because that would make a big.
It's the same guy that's been there for like years and years and years.
The Hoyer.
Yeah,
Brian Hoyer still.
Well, no, there was the other kid that they thought everybody was saying before they drafted Mac Jones that he was the next Tom Brady. Some kid that they drafted a couple years ago.
It was Garoppolo and then Stutzman or whatever.
Right.
And then he left because they cut him. But yeah, Brian Hoyer and then Bailey Zapp. So,
God,
the rookie fourth rounder.
The Dolphins are favored in that game at -3. I'd probably take the Dolphins.
I take the Dolphins.
Yes.
-3. I'll take them to cover.
I think McDaniel's going to want to prove a point in this game here. So, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 2-touchdown game.
It'll be kind of a fun game too. So I know you don't do pick'ems week one, but I'm going to ask you for a couple. Not all of them.
No,
ask you for a couple.
Let's do it.
So give me 2 for sure, like for sure wins week one.
2 for sure wins week one. Wow. Okay. I think the Panthers are gonna beat down on Cleveland. Jacoby Brissett is just. I'm not a Jacoby Brissett fan.
I'm surprised that spread's not higher. That's -2.5 Carolina.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if
it's almost it's a pick 'em.
If they try to just run up the score, if it's possible, with Baker wanting to do that. And then I would have to go. I think Matt Ryan is, and the Colts are. I think they're going to run away with that division, Indianapolis. So, and I think they'll beat down on Houston. So I would say that would be my second lock.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the Colts are favored at -8. So I would probably take.
I think they'll cover. Honestly.
I think that division game right there is gonna be a lot more difficult than some are seeing it. I really think Houston's gonna bring it to them.
I think
Pierce and Cooks. It's a healthy Cooks.
I actually like Mills.
Yeah.
I think the Texans are. I like the Texans. I love E. Smith. I mean, I saw him in Chicago for all them years. Like they're going to be they're going to be well prepared. Like they won't ever be out coached. You know what I mean? Like they ain't got as much talent. That's for sure. In Houston as Indy does. So I just think that talent will they'll be able to run through them. Jonathan Taylor.
I was going to say Jonathan Taylor will probably have a huge game in that game, and Matt Ryan won't have to do much. So
Right.
Yeah.
That is a huge spread though, 8 points. But
It really is. I mean, if we're looking at the spread,
I mean,
think
if you're looking at the
Houston-
spread, then I would probably go Ravens.
I think
Jets.
Houston covers on that. So
What's
I'll
the
take-
spread on the Ravens Jets?
yeah, I would take that too.
Ooh, what is that spread? I didn't see it.
So real quick while Nick's looking, give me
Yeah.
2 picks that are going to be upsets going into.
Oh, the Jets are the Ravens are -7, so I'd take the Ravens on that one
that
too.
would probably be.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know,
2
right?
upsets. It's so hard to call upsets on the first week, but
I mean,
I
I'll
don't-
give
who-
you.
who's
I'll-
favored. Who's favored in the Jacksonville Washington game?
Washington -3.
I'm gonna take Jacksonville on that one. I
Mhm.
think Jacksonville could pull that game off.
I'll give you one more if you want help.
Well, who's
Minnesota
favored in-
over Green Bay?
I think that's
All
a
right, Tanner.
possibility, but
I
I
got
don't
you.
see that.
I already told you this.
I don't see that as much of an upset, to be totally honest.
That's a pick 'em.
offense. Right, right.
It really is though. It's
What about the
-1.5.
What about the Bucks Cowboys?
Bucks Cowboys.
See, but I don't know if that would be considered an upset.
I mean, Tampa. It's a pick'em game. It's -2 for Tampa. So
Mhm.
same with Green Bay. You're talking Green Bay, Minnesota. It's a pick'em. It's Green Bay's favored by -1.5.
Wow,
I mean,
that's a
that'd-
hard one for the.
That'd be the only ones here. I don't see.
So
the
here's
Lions
the
being-
upset. I'll give you an
mean,
upset.
If Seattle were to beat the Broncos, that would be a major upset, but I don't see that
That would
happening.
that would be more
That would be a
drama
huge upset.
involved.
Yes.
More drama involved than I think any of us need if the
That would
Broncos lose to the Seahawks.
that would be a very fun Tuesday morning.
Oh
if
man,
that happened.
we'd have to go live on Tuesday as well at some point because there's a
Well,
lot to talk about with that.
Please invite me on that one because that would be fun to talk about. But I think honestly Tampa Bay and Dallas, I think both of them are going to struggle this year.
Maybe
Totally
I'm buying into the Hard Knocks here, but I'll take Detroit plus at +4 over the Eagles as my upset. My
That's
upset
real
special.
good. You know what? I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna assume the 49ers are favored over the Bears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields is gonna have a nice year. I think I'm worried about Trey Lance, to be totally honest.
So
I
you're
think
thinking that Trey Lance is going to start week 1 and look horrible, while Justin Fields can get away with maybe winning one here.
Yes.
San
And not
Francisco
only-
-7.
Yes, then they can at least cover.
They at least
If they
cover,
don't
but
win outright. I think.
but
the Bears-
would they win though? Like could Justin
I think-
Fields could actually pull this off if he
I
came
think
to
he
it.
can. I think he can. He's very athletic, and if
Yeah.
you know if he gets a grasp of that offense, and like I said, I think the 49ers keeping Jimmy was. I think that was a mistake, man. I understand they seen it as, oh, we got the best backup in football, but
Look,
even though Jimmy's willing to,
They
take
didn't
the
they
backup
didn't want him to
role,
go to Seattle. That's the
I
thing.
know,
They just
but
didn't
you
want him to
gotta-
go
You got
to
to think about the other 51 players in that locker room, and if Trey does start to struggle a little bit, like there's gonna be players in that locker room.
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
Hey, we went to the Super Bowl with that guy right there. So why are we? You know what I'm saying? You know,
It does
Aaron
make it real
Rodgers
awkward.
Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So there might be players on that team that are like, hey, you know, maybe the kid ain't ready yet. Let's go back to Jimmy. At least we know, at least we know what we have in Jimmy. But
it's
you know
fair,
what I'm saying?
Carlos.
I would not. Yeah, I'll go Bears. I'll
So
go Bears over the 49ers.
so here's my 49ers Jimmy Trey Lance take, right?
Go ahead.
I think the 49ers are almost geniuses to not have a full out crappy backup to Trey Lance, who potentially could get hurt for being a running quarterback.
Right?
If you're worried about the locker room with these guys, I don't think you should be, because Trey Lance and John Lynch are all in there, already in the heads of the players, buying in the system, and they've already told Trey Lance, you are the guy, we're riding with you. It's almost like a ride and die situation, but if he gets hurt, now you just plug in Jimmy G, who's playing in the offense, who wins games, and you don't have to plug in a guy like Brian Hoyer. You don't have to plug in a guy like Case Keenum or anything like that. Like you have a starter.
I'm kind of with you on that, Tanner.
I'm with you on that, and we were mentioning it. We were going a little bit on the comments yesterday. I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah.
My only thing is if they come out 1-3, 1-4.
It's right or die. I mean, literally, if it's not Nathan, like I said, Nathan Peterman bad,
they'll sacrifice the season.
Yeah.
Just to let the kid play.
To let Trey Lance play. To buy in the season.
But then you know what? I hope they go 2-15 because the Dolphins have their pick. So I'll take
there it
that.
is. So look, if Trey Lance is playing Nathan Peterman bad, then that's a whole.
I don't think he's going to be that bad. I hope he's not that bad.
If you're sitting here, he's thrown, let's say 4 picks in 4 weeks or whatever, 4 picks in 3 weeks, but he's ran for 2 touchdowns and maybe passed for 3. I think he's on the safe side through that part at least. So, but when he starts, I mean, when you start losing games because you're causing turnovers,
right?
That's when you're going to start the discussion. Outside of that, it's going to become a team thing going into play. So then Trey Lance isn't going to get benched just because they're losing. Trey Lance will get benched if he's the reason that causing the issue. So the turnovers, he could be missing throws all he wants. He could be, running out, whatever it may be, right? Pulling a Kirk Cousins, not quite getting to the first down, right? Stuff like that. That's fine. But if he's causing turnovers, that's going to be the biggest key of everything right there, I think, going into play. That's my take. And then guess what? All you do is say, hey, Trey, sit down for a minute. Jimmy, let's go.
Right.
And then you're back on par.
Yeah, so that's fair enough.
I feel like it was almost a genius move. Like, I get the whole looking over your shoulder, but I feel like the coaching staff in San Francisco's come out and already established that's not the case. That's not the feel anymore. So,
like I said, I just if they start losing, because that roster is built to make a run.
Yes, it is.
Clearly they went to a Super Bowl a couple years ago, NFC Championship game last year. So
it's very true.
Carlos. Like I said, I'm worried about the other guys, especially the older guys on the team that are going to be like, why are we, I understand
why are we wasting our career? Yeah,
right. Well, I understand the kid's the future, but if he ain't ready, we got a man right here that we went to a Super Bowl with. So that's the thing I worry a little bit about. But I mean, I think the kid's got uber talent. But it's sometimes it's just between the ears getting that down, and he hasn't played much ball at all.
No, he didn't play. He played one game in college, right?
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah, his the last COVID year. One game, and
one game in college.
They put together
he played 5 games. 5 games last year or something like that.
Yeah, and then he got hurt.
Right. So I mean, he has not played a lot of football. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Again, a situation to watch.
But that's a clear reason why I could see the Bears winning that, especially in Chicago. Yeah, I can see the Bears winning that game.
I wouldn't be surprised in that play, really. So that's fair. All right, before we wrap up here, I'm gonna get your take here. One last pick. I want to know who wins Thursday night, Rams or Bills.
As much as it hurts my heart. I think Buffalo is going to be in the Super Bowl this year, and I think they're going to want to make a statement. I think Buffalo wins that game.
All right.
Well,
I don't think unless injuries happen, and I mean it hurts them not having Trey White for the first 4 games. But excuse me, I would totally give it. I think Buffalo. This is their time now. If Buffalo doesn't win it this year, with how difficult the AFC is getting. If Buffalo doesn't make it this year, I think they're gonna have problems. But I think, like I said, as much as it hurts me to admit it, Josh Allen is that dude.
Yeah,
he's a stud, man. So I think Buffalo wins it. I think Buffalo wins it. It should be an awesome game. I cannot wait for that game. Talk about a great way to start off the season.
Kick off week 1.
Yes.
Super Bowl. That's a Super Bowl preview right there. I mean, Bills, Rams we could be easily seeing them in the last game of the year.
Absolutely.
First game of the year, last game of the year.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite end though. I just think because you look at these Thursday night games, the home team that's coming off that Super Bowl, they get that ring, they got that juice. I'm taking the Rams on Thursday. Just simplify. You look in the history back with these Thursday night games. A lot of times it'll be the Rams. I mean, it's a pick'em game. The spread's like 2.5 minus 2.5 for the Bills, so it's a pick'em. And I'm gonna pick the Rams here just because this is how it usually works. They get their rings, they got that juice, the whole crowd's there, ready to go. I mean,
no, that's a totally good point, and I will not be mad if Buffalo loses.
No,
yeah, I'm sure, right?
Give me Rams. Give me the McDermott versus Sean McVay. Just roll here, like head coaching, play after play, whatever it is, trick play is going to come into play. I'm excited for this one. So
yeah,
awesome. Well, Johnny, we're going to let you go here. Appreciate you joining, talking some football with us.
Appreciate you guys having me on, man. Anytime you guys just hit me up. I'm more than willing to talk, man.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it, man. Thank you again.
No problem, guys. Have a good one, guys. Talk to you later.
See ya.
All right, fellas.
That was Johnny, guys. You can find him at the Yankee Fin on Twitter, or you can go. You'll see him on Let's Talk Sports as well. So, well, Nick, anything good coming up this week for you as we enter first week of NFL? What shows you got coming on?
So Wednesday night, me and the boys, Kenny and Craig, will be breaking down each game, picking each game against the spread. They'll be giving up some of their fantasy advice on Wednesday as well. So that'll happen Wednesday night, 8:30 Central Time Zone is what we're shooting for. Then I think we're going to do our Head Kicks and Haymakers UFC preview show. It's UFC 279 this Saturday, but I got soccer at 8 in the morning, so I think we're going to shoot for Friday night for our pre-show, and then we'll do our UFC post-show on Sunday morning, and then back Sunday night, breaking down all the games and kind of revealing how the games went outside of the Sunday night game, which will be going on in the Monday night game.
Carlos's fantasy drafts are killing him. I don't blame you, dude. So Hunter, we were talking on some trades here. He says I made a terrible trade a few days ago. Lost Pittman and Swift, and he got Najee and Mooney. He totally regrets it. It's not an awful way to lose a trade.
No, I don't even think he really lost that. I'm high on Najee. The Pittsburgh's going to run the football.
I love the Pittman and Swift here this year, and I would take. I don't know.
I like the combo of Pittman and Swift more than I like Najee and Mooney. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, I don't think it's a total loss. It's not like you traded
it's almost
for
even. It's
Clyde
almost even.
and Juju or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's not an awful one, Hunter, but I feel your pain there because I'd be kind of butthurt about it for a little bit too. But hey, wait till week one and maybe you'll.
Yeah, maybe Swift gets hurt. He gets dinged up all the time, and Najee runs for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns or something week one, and then you're look like a genius.
Right, you never know. So, let's see here. This week here, Wednesday night, we got AFC West preview. A quick recap of that division here. Then we're also going to talk, basically get ready for week one fantasy. Kind of hopefully not too long of a show, but heck, it might turn into one like today did. But we got that going Wednesday. Friday, we'll drop our preview of week one for the Chiefs on the Settling the Kingdom channel. And then we'll be here on Let's Talk Sports for pregame, postgame shows on Thursday and Sunday. And then we also have a Sunday or pregame show before the Chiefs. So, and we'll have a postgame. So, lots of content coming, lots of Chiefs content as well on Selling the Kingdom. So make sure you guys go check that channel out as well. It's our Chiefs exclusive channel. So this year. So, but yeah, man. Well, if you got anything else?
Nah, man, that's it. Ready for football season. We'll be back here on next Monday. So
yeah, awesome. All right, everybody. Have a fabulous week, and we'll talk next Monday. See you guys. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Buffoons and Bodkins show. Make sure you hit that bell, subscribe, and follow for more content. Swing over to the Bodkins show, subscribe and follow for him, and then also swing over to Let's Talk Sports Network and go subscribe to him because it's phenomenal for what he does, and there's a lot more to come on that channel between us as well. So make sure you guys do that.